You're already in the life, kiddo. If I hate to say it, you just need someone like Uncle Mel to show you the ropes.
I'm not some little kid. I just made $700-800 in one night.
Yeah, in quarters. Probably got a hernia dragging them home. This will be a couple of days' work, and your end is gonna be 10 grand minimum.
Sounds good.
Deal?
Yeah, sounds real good to me.
Good.
Hey, you!
Maybe he ain't coming.
Ah, baby, Mel's for real.
Hello guys, I hope you're well. Welcome back to my channel called Blast and the Past. And this time around I have a DVD review of the film called Another Day in Paradise from 1998, starring James Woods and Melanie Griffith.
I take you in, I teach you the ropes, I give you my family.
I am no role model. I'm a junkie.
I think it's a film worth recommending, but somehow at the time of its premiere it flew completely under the radar, so it was unnoticed. It remained unnoticed, and I think that it may be considered a hidden gem, a jewel in the crown of the Hollywood industry. So without further ado, let's kick it off, shall we?
Shut the fuck up! Shut up! Jesus Christ!
This film is an exponent of the independent cinema, as you can clearly see even here. So it was produced by some company called Chinese Bookie Pictures, and it was directed by Larry Clark. And Larry Clark is best known for the films Kids and Bully. The first one from the 1990s and the second one from the early 2000s. And this one is also a great motion picture in its own right. So definitely it's worth giving it a spin, giving it a whirl.
We're gonna have a really good time.
The film is about a young couple, Bobby and Rosie, who are together and they are in their early 20s. They are a bunch of junkies, so they don't have any stable job, they don't have any prospects for the future, they live their hand-to-mouth existence, and seemingly their only goal in life is to get high, get stoned, get whacked by using drugs and all the other legal or illegal substances.
I'm not some little kid. I just made $700-800 in one night.
Yeah, in quarters.
One day when Bobby attempts to commit a robbery, so he's caught red-handed and there is an altercation in which he kills the guard guarding the premises. And later on, when he's in trouble, in a pickle, he asks for help Mel, who is like a good uncle. He is kind of a self-proclaimed doctor because his secret potion, his secret concoction is based on heroin and other hard drugs. So this is his way of treating his so-called patients. However, he helps Bobby and he takes the couple under his wings.
Oh, feels good.
You just point your hand at what you want to hit and booyah, it's over.
And also he has a girlfriend of his own, Sid, who is played by Melanie Griffith.
We got any kids?
It seems that Mel has everything figured out, so he's also a crook, a thief. However, he's never been caught, according to his words at least, so he must be good at this, the so-called profession. Anyhow, he asks Bobby for help in his heist. So he wants to rob a local pharmacy, and it seems like a big score for them. So they can earn a lot. It's supposed to be easy money, if something like that even exists. And the youngsters, they are in on that, on the plan. And what happens next? You can imagine that probably they are being groomed into this new profession by their patrons, their guardians. But trust me, there will be many problems along the way. Because a life of crime is not a piece of cake, and that's for sure. So there is no such a thing as easy money.
Said, you know what we gotta do.
They will get into quite a pickle, into trouble, and whether they manage to get out of the situation unscathed or not, it's up for you to see.
You see, you can't never be too cautious.
In terms of the plot of this film, let me read out a short summary offered on the IMDb website. This one was written by John Reeves. Bobby is an addict and a small-time thief. When one of his jobs goes bad, Mel is called in to patch him up. Mel offers him a chance at a bigger score. Over time, Mel and his girlfriend Sid become almost like parents to Bobby and his girlfriend Rosie, but this cannot last.
What do you think we are, Ozzy and Harriet?
To be perfectly honest, prior to the screening of this film, I knew nothing about it. Apart from the fact that there was a motion picture like this and it starred James Woods and Melanie Griffith, and that was it basically. So I was completely caught off guard by this film. because it's a brutal, violent story about two couples cooperating together in criminal activities, joining their forces, the older ones passing the baton to the younger ones, to the younger generation.
Let's go shopping.
I got a brand new pinstripe suit of clothes.
Great, thank you.
Like his Uncle Mel's tree.
Teaching them the trade, the ropes, and there is a lot of graphic violence, sexuality, sex scenes, brutality, all the murky stuff, all the dirt of life. It is in there, but it serves a purpose, so it's not mindless violence. This film is very surprising and shocking because it's an independent production, so a low budget one, but it's a no holds bar ride. Really, you have to buckle up for it and be ready for going deep into the dark territory of the human soul. The whole 9 yards, but in a very bad way in terms of the human nature. However, it is all there for a reason, not only to shock the viewer. This is not the main point. The main point is to present like the bottom of society, how low a human being can get just in the pursuit of money. In the pursuit of money, in their greediness, in not having a regular lifestyle. And that's why it's worth watching, because it presents the reality of some people, of this criminal element.
About 50 cents each.
No, wait, pal, no. No, 60 cents, that's it. All right, we don't do business.
And I think that those kind of films shouldn't be censored. It defines the purpose. So if you want to have a realistic piece of cinema, you also have to accept that it is violent. It's not a walk in the park, it's not a stroll in the park. So it is very disturbing, it is very unsettling, but it is just for the sake of the narrative, and it just flies naturally, organically with it. So as long as there is some deeper purpose to that, to presenting the sexuality and violence and all those vices of the human soul, so I think that the directors, the screenwriters, they are excused.
No, get him here. Get the money.
No, get the dope!
The cast of the film is great, and both James Woods and Melanie Griffith, they are fantastic in their roles. Especially James Woods, so he's a very underappreciated actor. In this film he was 49 years old, so in his late 40s, that's for sure. And really, he gives his best. He is this kind of an actor, this kind of a performer, the old school one. So despite of the script, despite of the quality of the film, the production value, he always does his best.
You.
Come on, everything is cool, everything is fine. We've got the money, we're out of there, we're all right, we're safe.
Probably in this case, had the film been well known, he would have got a nomination or even a statuette, probably, for his efforts, because his performance is so gritty, so believable, and he's like a father figure for the main protagonist, but also like a shady one. So after all, he's a criminal, he's not a good guy. Although in terms of his protege, he tries to be up to a point, at least, no spoilers. But what happens later, you would need to check it out on your own.
You're already in the life, kiddo. If I hate to say it, you just need someone like Uncle Mel to show you the ropes.
And Melanie Griffith, she's also fantastic, she's very believable, and she even claimed herself in one of the interviews that probably she should have got and she deserved the Golden Globe for her performance, if not more. Well, that's very humble, that's very modest, but you have to give her props that she also does a magnificent, a splendid job in her role. And there is a great chemistry between them, I mean James Woods and Melanie Griffith. So it adds another realistic layer to their relationship, how they are protective of their proteges, of the people whom they are introducing into this criminal world. It works like a charm. It works for the benefit of this motion picture.
1 minute you're Mr. Big Man with Mel, and the next minute you're just a helpless little boy.
This is not about friendship. This is not about love. This is survival.
Even Roger Ebert, in his review of this film, praised the role of James Woods. And he had nothing but good things to say about him, about the actor.
What? You don't think that's funny?
This one is an independent flick, so it never was very popular with the audience, and that's a shame, because it could be called an underrated gem. It flew under the radar. Probably very few people right now realize that something like that has ever been released, despite of the pretty recognizable cast. James Woods and Melanie Griffith in the secondary roles, let's say. But they definitely steal all the limelight in terms of their performance.
See, you just don't get it.
This is about money.
Regarding the box office performance of this small project, so obviously it wasn't a big budget production because it cost only $4.5 million to make, and it grossed around only 1 million. So as you can imagine, it wasn't too much of a success. It didn't make any impact on Hollywood per se. But regardless of that meager performance at the box office, I think it's worth trying. And also Roger Ebert, a very famous, renowned critic, seems to have liked it, so I think it's also another argument for this film. He particularly enjoyed the performances of the two main actors, so in this case James Woods and Melanie Griffith, citing the part played by James Woods as probably the selling point of this film, and to be honest, I couldn't agree more, because in all of the scenes he's just fantastic, he's so believable, his performance, his role is very gritty, and he's this kind of a father figure but not really there, so everything turns sour, it goes south later on in the narrative. However, at first he's like a typical father figure, a role model for the main protege, and he tries to help him in this business. He tries to teach him the ropes, he's grooming him into that, but the deeper they go in this so-called profession, the worse it gets, alas.
Oh my god.
The film has a pretty good average rating on IMDb. It's 6.5 out of 10. I would also be one of those persons who defend this film and who try to persuade people to give it a go, to give it a whirl. Because although it's not for the faint of heart, it's really captivating, and in terms of how the plot develops, how the relationship between the younger ones and the older ones develops, it's also very entrancing, and you just cannot wait to see the ending, to the great finale of their criminal cooperation, and also like them being the parental figures, the father figure, the mother figure, and them being their adopted children up to a point. So it won't be a bed of roses, that's for sure, because it takes a tailspin and it spirals out of control later on.
Get up, Mel. No, get the money, honey. Come on, get up. Mel, let him get the money and get up.
Whether there is some redemption or not, at least for some of the characters, I leave it up to you to see.
I was in a blues bar in St. Louis. A guy walks in carrying a severed head.
You live in the fast lane, Mel.
It is very perceivable, though, that on a shoestring budget, the director tried to get the best out of the picture. He used longer shots, wide shots, and he did his best, despite the limitations of the budget. This is always praiseworthy. When a director, even though the financing may not be right, the money may not be there, he tries to do his best and he tries to introduce some variety, even in the filmmaking, in the way the film has been directed. Different angles, experimenting with it a bit, and again, focusing on the characters, the movement of the camera when it pans in and out.
He's a pro, okay? Only steals when he knows everything's in his favor, when he knows he's not going to get caught.
Those are the makings of good, if not great directors. And the director of this film may not be a very well-known one. However, you have to admire his work and the fact that he tried to do his best.
You and Sid really been like parents to me, Rosie.
But let's just stay focused on the not puking thing, okay?
For the fun of action sequences, so there are a couple of them in this film, although it's not this kind of a narrative driven by action sequences, by chases, by a dynamic montage. Nonetheless, at some points of the narrative, of the plot, nothing goes according to plan. And whatever seems to have been planned thoroughly takes a major turn, takes a U-turn, and not in the good meaning of this word. Because when the main protagonists finally get their hands on the drugs, they need to sell them in order to make a profit. And as you can imagine, they get in touch with the element of society much worse than themselves. And also you can expect that some of them don't play fair and don't play nice. So that's why after obtaining the merchandise, the drugs, getting rid of it, that could turn out to be quite problematic, to say the least.
No, it's all here. 3 G's.
Perfect.
before giving this film a go, you have to also remember that not only does it contain scenes of explicit violence, but also of drug use. So it's not for teenagers and it's not for the faint of heart. But like I've said before, it is all based in the script, so it is all founded, it is all justified. But it is something to remember, to have in mind, just before watching the film.
Yeah. Send them over. First clients have arrived.
Of course, it was a small-scale project, so according to the pieces of trivia on IMDb, it was shot using natural lights and also with only 2 cameras all the time, and much of the dialogue lines, they were improvised as well. But in this case, actually, in terms of the latter, I think it plays for the film, so it is its advantage. Because James Woods is a natural, really. In all his performances, he tries to nail them, and this one is no exception. So his role is definitely, hands down, one of the biggest pluses of this film.
He's got people everywhere. This is like having...
I've already said that Another Day in Paradise was praised by Roger Ebert, but also there is another piece of trivia stating that it was the final film to have received the 2 thumbs up from the film critics Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel.
Ain't that right, Ty?
Yeah, I definitely should.
Just on a side note, I really love it when films are such a big surprise. So when you just decide to put them in your player or just watch them on a streaming platform without having known too much about them, about the plot. And it catches you off guard. It gets you by complete surprise. And I simply adore those kind of situations. When you don't know what to expect, you just have a look at the main cover or a poster, one of the posters. You see only the cast, maybe the name of the director, and perhaps some taglines, and then you either decide to give it a go or not, to check it out or not. And when you finally eventually do, you are in for quite a surprise in a good way. And this is one of those cases, one of those instances. Maybe it's nothing big, it's nothing major, like I've said, it didn't make any impact on Hollywood per se, probably very few people are aware of this film, of its existence, but that's why I'm here, to also promote the obscure, to let you know about such gems. And maybe it's not like a jewel in the crown, but definitely it is worth checking out, just to give it a go, just to have something grittier, out of the comfort zone. And it's good to take risks with the cinema. Unfortunately, this risk didn't pay off for the director, because the budget might have been very small, $4.5 million, but the gross was even smaller. Alas. Anyhow, it seems that talented directors never reach their full potential. But this is Hollywood, this is the dream factory. Sometimes your dream may come true and sometimes it may not. And the only thing you can really do is do your best and take the chances. And hope for the best.
That's why, big time. Make the call.
Now, very briefly about the DVD release of this film, Another Day in Paradise. Unfortunately, it is very bad. Probably you can't see it from this distance, but really, the colors are washed out, it's pretty blurred. The viewing experience in terms of the picture quality is really poor. So this is a shame, because after all, it's an official release, so it shouldn't be like that. When you buy something, you purchase something, it's a release on a physical media, so it should always be like a no-brainer, that it's at least serviceable, at least acceptable. And in this case, I know it's an independent film, a low-budget production, but it deserves much better.
Is this my final payback?
It deserves normal treatment. And what it got here, so it looks like a VHS tape, not even upscaled, not even with the increased resolution, not even remastered in any way. So this is the quality of a regular VHS tape.
Was meinst du, wie es dir ginge ohne mich? Bestens. Du wärst längst tot.
In the old bad days of that format, unfortunately. So if you have this release, keep your expectations high regarding the film, but keep your expectations low regarding the picture quality, which is really sometimes disastrous. I think that it slightly gets better as the film keeps going, so that's that.
Why do you laugh like that? Doesn't that hurt?
Only when I laugh.
Thank you very much for your attention, guys. I hope that you have enjoyed this short review. If you have liked this video, please give it the thumbs up, please share your comments on this motion picture, on my review in the comment section below, and if you are not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to it, and I also hope to see you guys next time. Cheers!
All right then. Say, have you ever heard this one? If the Flintstones was black, what would they call the show?